Hello, everybody, and welcome to this, the Large Blast podcast, the podcast where we're celebrating an Orc Boy summer. I'm your host, Stoney, joined as always by my buddies Welshie.
Hello.
And my buddies Matt.
Innocence proves nothing.
And we're here to talk about all things Warhammer. And we'd like to kick things off with something which we call Hobbies Going On, which might be a little bit like Hobby Progress on other podcasts, but we can assure you it is a totally original idea done ourselves. So, Welshie, what have you been up to on your Hobbies Going On?
I've been doing a couple of goings on. I've picked up an original metal squat model that's older than I am from 1987. And just had a night where I just sat down, sprayed it, and painted the whole thing in one big block, which is quite nice because it's a tiny little model, so it doesn't take that long. So that was really nice. And then I've also been working on some of the panels for my big night. You know, I'm doing this Renaissance painting panels for my big night Asterius. And I'm finally doing some of the gold trim around the panels that I've painted and actually sticking them onto the skeleton. So that's really satisfying feeling to see some of these freehand panels get stuck onto the actual war machine itself. So that's been really nice.
Nice, cool. So starting to see some progress on a big piece.
Yeah.
Cool. What about you, Matt? Anything interesting?
Just been trying to do a few Bretonian bits, and I'm just trying to finish off a night at the moment, and then I'll do my sisters. I have a week of sisters.
Week on the sisters. I was lucky enough to actually see your sisters' army yesterday. It was pretty fucking cool. Looks very good.
Thanks, thank you.
Well, I haven't been doing that much in the way of modelling or anything, but I hit the Motherlode last weekend, which is the first time we've been able to out of lockdown and see our families and stuff. And I went over to my mum's house, who produced a box of Warhammer, which I thought I'd thrown away, 20 odd years ago. So this was these are original lead models. There's some second edition stuff in there. It had the Orc Battle Wagon, the original one, which was like the very first model I ever got in there. All covered with, for some reason, I stuck a load of skinks and lizard men all over it.
Nice.
Just all kind of weird, like classic box of like little kid Warhammer. Everything's like nothing's base coated, everything's painted to shit. And then like my early converting career started even then, because I have been fucking around, sticking elder heads on chaos guys, all sorts of random shit. So
what did
I've
you
got
find
this big box.
They were glued with? Because when I found a load of old metal models, I obviously didn't know how to glue things properly. They were covered in like araldite or something horrible to stop the like heavy metal bits falling off.
Well, I definitely got quite creative. There were some bits I could you could really see my early sculpting career start to happen there, because I'd done stuff where I'd like made things out of blue tack and then just covered it with so much super glue.
Yeah,
covered it with so much super glue that it was like solid. And I was kind of like I made some like alternative hands and stuff with some of it. Well, I say alternative hands, I mean blobs of super glue with blue tack underneath it. But I've got some cool shit in there. Old school lead, Keeper of Secrets, all this. Like this was literally the mother haul. It was like, remember all the Warhammer you think you got rid of as a kid? My mum just produced it, which was a bit good. But I am thinking about getting some of these models out to you guys, actually, because I know it'd be nice to see some of them actually getting used on the battlefield. Lord knows I'm not going to do that. So I've got some old Gene Stealers in there and stuff. I was thinking maybe you could have a go at, Welshie.
Yeah, I'm after that Lictor, mate. I saw a Lictor sneaking around in the background.
Oh yeah, it's very good. Big fucker, lead bastard, heavy. Like that's the thing. It's like I've got the Carnifex model in there as well. The old Carnifex.
It's a weapon.
It's like a fucking cricket ball of lead. This thing. It's fucking huge. And like I remember, even at the time, it just never held together because it's so fucking heavy that like every time you tried to glue it together, it would just like crumble down the middle under its own weight. So like, I mean, it's a complete piece of shit. Actually, it looks awful. It's heavy as shit. It's a nightmare to use. But the nostalgia's there with it. So I might have some interesting modelling projects coming up with some of that, I think. It's the news. Wow. It's the chuffing news.
Have you heard? 6s are now 4s.
It's the news.
Gene Stealer Limo's back.
News. All right, so let's kick off the news with some Angels of Death. This is some kind of animation again, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's the second trailer. If you remember, they first released the Angels of Death trailer, and it was all Blood Angels kind of landing and fighting. There was a glimpse of a chaplain, but it didn't really show who the the bad guys were going to be. So they released a new trailer in the past week or so. And it's clear that the bad guys are guardsmen that have turned to the Gene Stealer cults, which is very exciting. That it's not just straight chaos, I think.
Yeah. Gene Stealer cults are one of the cooler adversaries for these kind of events. So that is cool.
I thought you might be excited at the prospect of an animated limo, Stoney. You think it's a possibility?
Oh, I mean, I didn't want to. As soon as anyone says Gene Stealer cult, obviously my mind does start drifting off into the limo direction. But I don't want to get my hopes up too high.
They also it links quite nicely with a rumor engine, which is clearly a new Gene Stealer cult model as well, holding some kind of remote detonator that's on the horizon. So being a Gene Stealer cult player, I was quite excited about that.
They kind of need a bit of love at the moment, don't they?
Yeah, they had a really good run. I mean, the model release was amazing. It was one of the ones that we kind of think we loved everything, but it'd be nice for a new character for them.
But I mean, on the tabletop, they're not playing that well at the moment.
No, probably the worst army if you look at the actual rankings.
Yeah.
They're fun, though. That's the thing with Gene Stealer cults and Tyranids, I suppose, at the moment. I think most people that play Gene Stealer cults and Nids kind of do it because they just love rushing things into people's faces. And Gene Stealer cults, although they're difficult to win with, you can have some real fun. They've got some funny strats where they pop up and take people by surprise and kind of shenanigans rather than all out winning.
Cool, so some fun shenanigans there.
Yeah, so hopefully more of that in this Angels of Death series.
So we've got weapons changes now. AdMech weapons changes. So this is basically classic AdMech style, an old school gun with an enormous fusion conductor somehow strapped to the top of it. But what do they do, Matt? And what do you think? Are you happy to see these?
Well, this is all part of obviously they're kind of releasing these little tidbits, but the rumor is that the codex will be coming out possibly next week or the next 2 weeks. So they're just kind of drip feeding us with this new information, which I haven't really looked at all. But I know the guns are all getting more powerful, which is good. Was there anything else to note, Welshie?
I think the key points that I looked at when I was looking at this that are going to be big for you, because I know you love having your toaster man in each squad with your arc rifle, and they've gone up to D3 damage, AP -2, which is really nasty. And their vehicle, I don't know if their vehicle damage has changed, but they now do flat damage 3 and always wound on a 4-up, regardless of what vehicle they're firing at.
Yeah, that bit's
the same?
Been beefed up. No, that has been beefed up. The wounding always on a 4-up on a vehicle. They've always been anti-vehicle, but they've never been that powerful.
You've basically got a 50-50 chance of a normal squad guy taking 3 wounds off a Land Raider or a Knight or something, which is cool.
I think I saw some Belisarius cool stuff as well, because they put the rules in the box sets. So at some point Games Workshop start to put the new sheet into their packaging, and people have started to get the rules for those units now. But yeah, the codex is going to be coming out very, very soon. And when they released that first video, I can see you've got it on the page here, but they had the binary figures and someone translated it, and it kind of says when the codex is coming out. So it's all
that's cool.
It's all,
secret message. The other things that I thought you'd be really interested in was your breachers now don't die on ones if they overcharge.
So you only lose a wound, don't you?
And the torsion weapons, which I don't think you've ever used, presumably because they weren't very good before, are now mental D3 +3 damage, 48 inch. They've doubled their range.
The range is really good. I started using them in 7th edition, and then I've not used them in 8th at all. They weren't really worth it, but they've always been quite interesting. But I wonder if Grav's changed. I'll have to find out.
Yeah, but some power upgrades that.
Yeah. And the guns on the robots have got more powerful as well.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
The Big Hero 6 comes back with even more absolute horrible pain.
You're talking about these guys that are like half lawnmower, half man, kind of.
Fly mode.
Yeah.
I'm bringing some news to the table this week, boys, which is that Vermintide 2. I don't know if you guys have ever played that game. It's a Warhammer fantasy themed computer game where you run around with a bunch of dudes beating up Nurgle guys and Skaven and all of that. It's been it looks quite good, but it's just had a massive free update. So if you were sort of interested in getting it before, it seems like now would probably be the time to get it, because it's just it's got a Chaos Wastelands update with all new like levels, things like that, stuff and abilities and tweaks and things that people had been complaining the game needed for a while. So if you were ever thinking about playing Vermintide 2, maybe give it a try.
Oh, nice, cool. Do you know if it's on consoles
That sounds interesting.
or just PC?
It's on console and PC. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah,
What's-
maybe I'll
is-
look into it.
is it-
You'll have
is
to
it
be
set in
online
the-
to play it.
Yeah.
But you know, with because you play with other people, it's a bit like a Left 4 Dead type game or something like that.
That sounds
but-
interesting.
But yeah, I think I saw some stuff of the previews of the Chaos Waste and stuff, and I know we've talked about how you know, to get Warhammer computer games right, the thing they've got to do is really nail that aesthetic, you know,
Yeah.
and they've really done that. It looks really cool.
Is it
Like,
it set in the old world?
Yeah, it is. It's
Right.
just before the fall of you know, the whole Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
Basically, I think is when it's set. But yeah, it looks really cool, and that's a game that I was kind of interested in for a while, but I'd heard mixed reviews on, so I'm gonna pay a bit more attention to it now. It's got this update and potentially pick it up. So for people out there might also be interested. Cool. So we've also got a couple of quite sexy new model releases. We've got the Celestine Sacrosanct, and a kind of a bearer of the eye of Horus, which I'm guessing is a Forge World model.
Yeah, he's not just any bearer. He is Malagurst the Twisted, who is equerry to Horus. He is Horus's right hand man for pretty much the whole of the heresy.
This is quite a big character release.
Yeah. Amazing that they haven't released him before.
Yeah.
I thought when I saw this.
It is a
Horus
cool
has been
model.
out for ages.
It is a cool model. Like we've been talking a little bit about sort of how Forge World seems to be changing over the last couple of episodes, but not like we've never really kind of focused it down or like honed in on anything. And this definitely seems like a newer sort of. It's hard to say what Forge World is doing at the moment. It's not like because obviously the Games Workshop ranges are changing quite a lot, whereas Forge World seems to be sort of plodding along, sort of relatively in the same direction it always has. So it sort of feels like it's being left behind a little bit by Games Workshop at the moment.
I think I've noticed with Forge World that stylistically they don't seem to have changed that much, but I think execution has just got better.
Yeah.
They seem to be, you know, the detailing is better, but they haven't really changed the image, which is good because it's all the same game system, I think.
We were sort of saying, like, we don't really know if maybe they've just got a better photographer over there at Forge World, because a lot of these models the pictures are much better now than they were.
This goes on to the rumor I mentioned last week, where there's meant to be a new Horus Heresy game coming out with a new box set. So I think this could be the start of a bit of a Forge World reawakening with the game system, which will still be 7th edition rules, but I believe it's being simplified with a bit of stuff that we've learned from 8th edition and 9th edition.
Yeah.
Quite interesting.
I
So,
think that this model's
interested.
banner is really striking for me. I don't remember seeing kind
it's
of
really crisp.
there's some ultramarine banners that are kind of like the old Roman eagle,
Yeah.
but most of the banners you see are the kind of fabric ones, but this is just a really nice kind of big hefty metal eye. I think it's nice. What about the Sacrosanct though, Matt? You're a Sisters player. How do you feel about the lady with a sledge?
When I saw this, I think it's quite good. It's so much better than the other one they previewed. Really interesting role though, that they're bringing out this like a heavy close combat unit that's on foot. It's quite. It reminded me of the Secutari, the Forge World kit you can stick onto your Scutari to turn them into the close combat Titan defenders. Which is quite, which actually is another Forge World kit that's always looked quite good. But this is, I wasn't expecting anything like this. I think the model's great. The shield's really cool. I
like how
the
plain it
Hellbard
is.
is wicked. Yes,
I like
exactly.
how they haven't gone super
Yeah.
over the top on the shield. It hasn't got a stupid skeleton stuck on the front. It's just
Yeah.
But
the whole model
halberd
is
is
quite
wicked.
modest, really. It's got like, I mean, it's definitely got some flair. Like she's got a fucking iron railing stuck on the back of her head, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, it's definitely just the right amount of like twiddly bits and not twiddly bits.
So it's a box set of 5 figures, I believe, and you can put them together as this, or there's another alternative unit, but it's in a completely new unit for the Codex, which is very obvious now that the Sisters Codex is going to be coming out probably after AdMech, because they're previewing loads of stuff for that now.
Maybe. I'd hope it's not, because there's lots that deserve it more. But
I think it will be,
yeah.
unless
probably.
they've got one of those new books coming out. With,
Possibly.
the
Yeah,
Book of
maybe they'll
Rust
be in
2
the
or
next
something.
Book of Rust version.
Oh, brother, you all said that the Large Blast podcast jumped the shark on its last wrestling edition by doing the Primax. You all said we had nowhere to go. Well, you were wrong, brother, because we're back in the squared circle for another Large Blast podcast wrestling edition. And this time we're taking it to the streets. That's right, we ain't confining ourselves to the world of 40k no more. We're gonna find out once and for all who is the hardest franchise, Warhammer or some other shit like Marvel or something. So join us now for the Large Blast podcast wrestling edition.
Okay, that's right, sports fans. We're back again for another Large Blast podcast wrestling edition. And this time we're going to do things a little bit differently. It's a franchise war. We're going to find out once and for all whether 40k is the best franchise around. So the rules of this are quite simple. We're going to pit one 40k guy up against someone from another franchise and decide who would win. Then whoever there'll be, then we'll do the points in teams. So if the Warhammer guy wins, then Team Warhammer gets a point. If the other franchise guy wins, then Team Other Franchise get a point. We'll add them all together at the end. So are you guys ready for our first matchup in this franchise wrestling edition?
Yeah.
Hell yes.
Okay, so first up, coming out into the ring, we have fan favourite, Large Blast podcast lover boy, Mephiston, coming out into the ring. And he is going to be fighting Blade from the Blade franchise movies. Wesley Snipes, Blade.
Okay.
The Battle of the Vampires. Who do we reckon is going to be the hardest? We need to kind of as well establish that we need to try to make the battle kind of as fair as possible. So, for instance, if there would be kind of fairly evenly matched, except for the fact that Mephiston has psychic powers, that he's got a bit of a headache that day. You know, it's just marginally toned down. So, yeah.
Blimey.
So, what do we reckon?
Blade hates him a vampire, doesn't he? He's not a fan of the vampires.
But he's also kind of he's a half vampire himself. He's the Daywalker.
And I think he's probably quite, he's not really all right with himself about that. And that's very similar to Mephiston, right? He's not really okay with the kind of blood-sucking rage. Neither of them are really leaning into their vampire selves.
No, they're self-hating.
Yeah.
They're both out hunting vampires, but it just turned out to be each other. The vampire was inside them the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that there's a possibility that these guys might just kind of team up. So we're going to have to really make them fight.
I don't know. You see, I think as well is I think that Blade might be jealous of Mephiston's pussy getting abilities.
Oh,
because
you
never
saying
see
Snipes
Blade
is
fuck.
not? Snipes
Wesley Snipes is high as fuck. High as shit, banging everyone around, but but Blade, his character, not so much.
Okay,
they're definitely not going to team up. They're definitely going to.
No, they're two lone wolves.
Okay,
I can't stop thinking, trying to imagine who's playing Mephiston.
You're putting them into a kind of film universe now.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Oh, he keeps playing
Someone
Mephiston.
decent, luscious blonde locks.
All right,
I'll
do it, guys.
Brothers.
Fine.
All right. Well, I mean, Mephiston's got to be bigger, right? We're still talking. Blade might have some powers, but he's human sized.
He does take a fair old beating in the movies, though, and seem to be he comes out kind of.
The
okay.
setting's important as well, because I'm thinking, isn't it in Blade where there's the dance hall where all the blood comes out the sprinkler system? Maybe
the
maybe
EDM dance party.
That distract Mephiston. He just start licking it up off the floor.
I could imagine that here's the thing: is Blade went there to bust up that party, but I could imagine Mephiston's just there just for fun. That's just what he does.
Top off. He's on a pole.
Yeah, he's swinging his top round his head,
out.
like fucking smooching on 3 different ladies.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, okay. So that's the setting then. Let's imagine.
Yeah,
what
that's
happened.
it, yeah.
Blade
okay.
walks into that scenario.
I
Do they
still
have?
feel like
Do they have
Mephiston-
swords? They both got swords for this.
I think they're both swords boys. Yeah, well, they can both have. They've both got a sweet ass katana.
Okay. I think Mephiston. I wanted to say that going into this, I wanted 40k to win every time, but I really love Blade, and I think he is cool enough to take out the pretty boy somehow.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure how, but I think he would find a way.
I feel a little bit like it might be Mephiston, but just because of how much older he is, and how much more experience he would have been able to gain over those years. But
do you think Blade might make the mistake? Maybe he tries to wind Mephiston up, but actually just fills him with the kind of black rage that the Blood Angels are known for. Maybe he shows him like a school picture of Mephiston in Space Hulk. Like, you used to be this blue fat guy, thinking it would really
with all the
psych him
team
out.
just about to go on the mission, like sat
that's
around
it.
with like towels around their necks and shit.
Yeah, he's got some secret photo like that, and that actually just fuels Mephiston into full rage mode.
That could happen,
Blade doesn't
because
stand a chance.
Blade does have a kind of a Batman element as well, where he does a bit of research and detectiving.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Mephiston
I
takes
feel
it.
like. So next up, coming into the ring, we have a Gene Stealer, and he's going to be facing off against Alien from the films Alien. What do we think there? So this is this is an interesting one, because Alien is obviously the kind of a lot of influence on what a Gene Stealer is. So this is in a way kind of like
Daddy
it's
and
fighting
son.
his great granddad or whatever. Yeah.
Blimey. So we're talking the classic black xenomorph tail, little mouth inside mouth, claws, rather than one of the other forms. Okay.
Yeah, none of these.
I am your father.
Not a dog one, not a predator alien. None of these new nonsenses. Geiger's original design.
I mean, I love the NIDs and everything. Gene Stealer, but I think one Gene Stealer is not enough. I think one Gene Stealer is less powerful than one xenomorph. And you think how many trained soldiers it takes to take down one xenomorph compared to one Gene Stealer.
This is good though, because as we said, this is like the original inspiration versus like the new creation that spawned from it. So in that respect, I think the original creation should always win.
Yeah. I think that in many ways the Alien is more Gene Stealer than the Gene Stealer is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that we're all in agreement.
Is just not enough.
I think maybe we're all in agreement on this. This seems like hands down Alien takes it.
Can I take it a step further?
Mm-hmm.
I think I agree on just the outcome of the fight, but it's interesting to think. Imagine there's a colony, and one Gene Stealer and one Xenomorph land on the colony. Which is more successful in like producing its progeny?
Yeah,
The Gene Stealer's going to infect.
The Gene Stealer would be
Gene Stealer, yeah,
because it's going to kind of infiltrate rather than just wrecking bodies and growing more. It kind of infiltrates the society, and I think that's the kind of dark sci-fi administratum that 40k takes further from that original concept.
That's true.
Of parasites.
That is true.
And things.
But they are wrestling in a ring.
Oh yeah, I fully agree. The Xenomorph wins. I just thought that was interesting. That's the kind of
if one of them got out of the
collaboration.
ring, then the Gene Stealer would win the long war.
Planet versus planet.
Yeah.
Cool, good fight. But Alien takes home the win. Round 3. This is Battle of the Big Boys, and out steps banging and shaking the ground as it stomps towards the ring. We have an Imperial Knight. And it's going to be taking on the Ultra Megazord from Power Rangers. Who do we think is going to win? I'm not very familiar with Power Rangers. Like, I know that they're all like, they basically, I know how it works is they all get in their cars that are shaped like dinosaurs or whatever, and they try to attack the bad guy with their separate cars, and then the bad guy goes, no, I'm too strong, and then they join all their cars together to make one massive car, and that's basically it. Fucks up the... I don't know if they'd have that. I feel like that's what they'd try to do that with the knight. They'd be like, oh, come on, everybody. Then, Jason, use your spinning dash attack or whatever. And he'd get in his car and like drive at it. But you don't get second chances with an Imperial Knight. You don't get beaten back and then come back. So I reckon they just try to attack it individually in their Land Rovers or, with whatever the fuck they've got. And they just get blasted by a fucking...
You're saying they never make it to the Megazord. The Megazord doesn't even get made.
I don't think the Megazord even gets a look in. I think that dickhead comes out, he plays his sword like a fucking flute, and then gets shot in the face with a ball of energy.
Yeah,
if you take out one of them, then they can't form the Megazord.
That's right. True. You take out like the yellow one, it doesn't have a right leg.
Yeah,
it's just a one-legged.
Yeah.
Megazord. Yeah, you're right.
Imperial Knight.
I think if you throw the Green Ranger in there, though, then you've got a real fight on your hands because he's the fucking bomb. Classic Megazord.
He might be in it. Well, it'd be quite funny if they made a Imperial Knight that was
Aren't
like
they all
that.
cursed
So it was like
as well?
Aren't
the Power Rangers are all cursed, aren't they? They all die. All the actors that play them die.
Oh, I think a couple of them have. Yeah.
One of them's a murderer.
So,
it's a real.
That's true.
Really?
Yeah, seriously. I agree that in reality they never get to Megazord, but hand to hand, Megazord versus Imperial Knight, I still think the Imperial Knight wins. It's got better defenses. Is it bigger? I think it might be smaller.
I don't know. Let's say they're sort of comparable size.
But I think one melter shot's going to destroy.
Yeah.
The way that the Power Rangers fight is a bit like a game of Warhammer because they sort of take it in turns where they sort of like say a lot of stuff and spin their arms around and then make an attack.
You know who would love watching that Megazord get ripped to pieces with a giant chain blade, though? Is old Rita up in her spaceship. She's going to be absolutely loving watching the Megazord get ripped to pieces.
As the next combatants start to move towards the ring, we have Kaldor Drago of the Grey Knights versus the Doom Guy from the Doom games.
Nice.
So these are two demon-slaying, no-holds-bars, completely uncompromising lunatics, basically.
Drago not having psychic powers or with psychic powers?
I think that he can have some of his psychic powers. I think Doom Guy can take it.
Okay, so Doom Guy, right, is a marine. He is a space marine by the very definition of the Marines, isn't he? He's a marine.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
in space.
A marine in space.
He's going to be smaller in size, but I think the weaponry the Doom Guy packs is better than the weaponry that Drago's packing.
Yeah, I mean he's not scared to just. He keeps it nice and simple. Double barrel shotgun, beat you to a pulp, tear your head in half.
The only thing is though, if you say he's got some psychic powers, if he's got Gate of Infinity, he's just going to like zip around and move from one place to another. So although you fire your shotgun at someone, but if that person is suddenly no longer there.
But
you're kind of talking. The thing is you're also kind of describing things that happen with bad guys in the Doom game, and the Doom Guy does kind of.
Okay.
I think the Doom Guy, like I say, weapons. I mean, we're focusing on shotgun, but then you've got the BFG, the big fucking gun. You've got like plasma guns. He's got everything. As franchises go, the weaponry in Doom is pretty comparable to 40K.
That's iconic.
I think hand to hand, Doom Guy doesn't stand a chance against Drago. Has he got a hammer, Drago, Matt, or a sword?
I think he's got a sword.
Yeah, it's like a spear thing, I thought. Anyway, he's got something. He's definitely a hand to hand combat.
He can have whatever he likes.
So,
he's got a shield, though.
Very nice.
Shield, and he's got his gun.
It's true. But the
And a
guns,
psychic
you know, I
weapon.
think he's outgunned though in this
This is
matchup.
another one where I
Guns.
want the non-40k to win. Just because the Grey Knights are lame and Doom Guy's really cool and there's loads of heavy metal playing in the background. Maybe when he arrives, the demons come with him, the heavy metal starts, he hates the heavy metal, he likes listening to like choral hymns, demons distract him, and he takes a BFG to the face.
Yeah,
he gets distracted by the music.
I think if they decided not to fight, then they could have quite a fun weekend together, just cruising around killing demons. But
it would be a real juxtaposed. It would be like a comedy cop duo. I think they'd be very different, melded together by their sole purpose to kill demons, but very different personalities, like the other guys. Maybe you've got
like Drago's clean, Doom Guy's messy.
Yeah. Or the Doom Guy's Mark Wahlberg, and then you've got Drago, like the Will Ferrell character, trying to do his accounting. Maybe a Doom Guy's completely untainted. Doom Guy's going to see Drago and think, "You're a demon. What are all these crazy psychic powers you've got?" That's going to spur him on.
Yeah,
I'm going Doom Guy.
I think it's Doom Guy.
Yeah, okay.
All right, cool. So, next up, coming to the ring, we have Commissar Yarrick.
Yes!
Hero.
Fan favourite, and he's going to be fighting Ash from The Evil Dead. Battle of the One-Handed Men. So I love Ash. I love the Evil Dead franchise. I love Ash from The Evil Dead, but I don't think he's going to be able to win this fight personally.
I don't think so either.
Yarrick's too hateful. He's too full of rage. You know, Ash he's more like finds himself in situations, but he seems like a pretty chill guy, really. Whereas, you could not say the same. I'm not saying no. Yarrick is not a chill guy. That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying that
Yarrick. Yarrick is more shouty, I'd say.
Yeah.
What
just beats him with
weapon
shouts at him.
Does Yarrick have?
He has got a
pistol. Storm bolter. I think.
And does his eye not shoot a laser?
Yes, you're right.
Well?
You're right. It does.
Oh,
yeah. Close combat laser eye.
He's got a cool hat as well. So at range, Yarrick outranges the boomstick. That's what Ash calls it.
Yeah,
the boomstick. So at range, Ash is fucked, and in close combat, that claw will just rip apart a chainsaw arm.
Yeah.
I think he'll just win by shouting at the guy.
I mean, that could happen too.
Gets full-on dressing down by the commissar.
But maybe I do wonder if maybe we're writing him off too fast, because let's face it, like Commissar Yarrick, he's been through years of military training and everything.
He's 300 years old.
He's 300 years fucking old. Exactly. Think how fucking brittle his bones must be. Whereas Ash, he's just a normal guy that managed to take on the entire armies of hell himself. So I mean, like just maybe, he's got what it takes.
Who's got the stronger chin?
Well, that's obviously Ash.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruce Campbell has even when we get to the year 40,000, a bigger chin will not have been born than old Bruce's. So
what if Ash is bringing the Book of the Dead with him? Could that throw some shenanigans into the pile if he starts reading from that?
I'm sure it would, but I'm not sure. But I think there'd be shenanigans that they both had to deal with. Don't think it would sway the fight in one way or the other, really.
No, I love Ash. He's great, but Yarrick wins. I can't see any other.
Yeah.
All right. Yarrick comes away. That's another point for Team Warhammer.
Well, put a wig on my bull bag and call it Madonna, sports fans. What's going neck and neck in this wrestling edition of the Lads Blast Podcast Franchise Special? Let's tune in later to see who can finally win.
Cool, so we've had word from our man Gav Thorpe, and he's dropped a hot and spicy new book called Luther about Lionel Johnson's buddy, the old sinister, shady Luther. Hopefully this is going to shine some light on some of his dealings. And I think, Welshie, you've had a read of it. What's going on?
Yeah, I read it pretty much in one go. Well, I say I read it. Someone read it to me on the Black Library audio books. And it was really interesting story, actually, the way that it was kind of mixed up. So it was based around Luther's point of view post fall of Caliban, and he's basically been kind of contained in a time stasis chamber, and the Dark Angels have kind of got him in time prison. So the whole book is a mixture of the past, present, and future. It keeps kind of phasing in and out. So some of the time he's telling stories of the olden days, like riding their 6-legged horses and fighting beasts in night realms of Caliban. And then some of the times he's being woken up from his dreams and is talking to various Dark Angel chapter masters and grandmasters. So it's really cool because it goes through all of the grandmasters from the Horus Heresy to modern 40k. He has a chat with like each one, and they're all trying to interrogate information about the Fallen from him. And he's kind of like, well, I don't know, because I've been in prison since Caliban fell. I've got nothing to do with where they are. And they're going full religious. And as each grandmaster appears, as he moves through time, they get more and more religious, which is something we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And he's like, you guys aren't anything like the Dark Angels should be. Like, I know I fucked off the lion, but if the lion came back now, he'd be like ashamed of you all. And it's really cool that like it focuses on something that we've talked about loads, this idea of civil war. And we talked about with Gav, the idea of like, what would the Primarchs think, and Valdor potentially coming back soon.
Yeah.
It kind of sets up and plays into that, which I thought was interesting to chat about.
Does he make it clear in the book whether Luther is a traitor or he might not be a traitor? Does it still leave it very ambiguous?
Depends what you mean by traitor. There's some really good bits. I mean, obviously he did wrong by the laws of the Imperium, because his whole deal was he wanted to save Caliban. He's a person of Caliban, and he was done with sending off endless people to join Space Marines and destroying all the forests of his home world. It's like an environmental tale, right? That's why he broke from the Lion in the first place. As to how much he fell to chaos, it's quite clear that he was more of a kind of Magnus before he got tricked thing. He's very knowledgeable. He's got a big stack of books. He thought he could wield the power. And there's a really cool section where Erebus and Typhon go and chat with him, and they're trying to like corrupt him to the cause, like give him the pamphlet to join Chaos. And he's like sees right through it. He sees through all the deception and doesn't really fall for it. And there's some really interesting bits where he's kind of hinting that psychic isn't a mutation. Anyone can use psychic powers if they're wise enough, like if they've learned enough, if they've read enough, can tap into the warp, which is a kind of cool twist on it. So yeah, there's some chaosiness to it. There's also stuff where they're talking about the final fight and how Typhon gave him like a Nurgle tainted dagger to kill Corswain, who's one of the big Dark Angels guys. And he kept that, and he clearly has that on him when he fights the lion, but it doesn't really say. And then the end, big spoiler alert, tune out for 5 seconds now. As it gets right up to Azrael, he wakes up and the door on his chamber is unlocked and he walks out.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
But it's just another thing that ties in with this idea that potentially there's this civil war coming as old meets new. It's another old character kind of floating around that would be really fun to use, I think.
I don't think it'd be interesting to see what they do with all of these new story arcs that they're creating. They did say they were going to try to create new, like a Horus Heresy, but new story arcs in the current timeline, and it seems like they're doing it quite well. All these little nuggets are starting to appear.
So yeah, like I say, if you want some of that, you want a background, he does a great job of not answering every question, right? Which is what you'd want. You wouldn't want everything to be answered.
Yeah.
And the way that it's written is really cool because it is interspersed with these nightly tales of going out on hunts and rides and taking down beasts, and then brings you straight back into like the 40k with interrogator chaplains and people fearful of the God Emperor. And it's really juxtaposed, and that makes it well worth a listen, I'd say.
All right, so an interesting one there. So if you, go give our man Gav some love.
Welcome back, sports fans, to some more Large Blast podcast franchise violence. Let's find out who the wrestling gods have pitted against each other now.
Okay, so coming out onto the ring, we have Trazin the Internet. As in the infinite.
He's forevermore. He's going to be called that.
Oh mate, if someone's got to make a Necron Lord conversion called Trazin the Internet, and it's got a guy with a bunch of meme t-shirts on and shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Trazin the Infinite comes out, and he's going to be fighting Arnold Schwarzenegger as Terminator 1.
Oh. Okay, well,
this is a bit like the Alien Gene Stealer battle.
Yes, yes.
But I do feel like a bit like, so if we're doing this, if this is really about the strength of the franchises, then I actually feel like I prefer the Necron Lord to win. Like maybe they've beefed out the kind of horrible skeleton, metal skeleton sort of franchise a bit better than the Terminator universes have managed to do over the years. They've only done 2 good films, the Terminator franchise, let's face it.
Yeah, I mean, I love Necrons, I fully agree. Because there's so much more to them. I mean, when they first came out, I'm looking at the original Necron sculpts next to me now, and they were Terminator. But the lore since then has put this backstory. There's so much more to them than just being androids that want destruction. In fact, they've had to make a whole section, the destroyer cults, which shows that they're not all just out for destruction.
Yeah, I do. I like the first 2 Terminator movies. They are really good, but I do think that Trazin has got it over Terminator.
The other thing is that the weaponry is far more futuristic. Trazin's going to melt the Terminator more than whatever the Terminator's firing. Plus, he can throw a Tesseract cube at him and release an entire army of Tyranids to take him down if he fancies it.
They put him in a Pokeball and add him to the collection.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's another thing that 40k does so well. I don't know of. Maybe something like the Borg, perhaps, that's got like more of a reason behind it than just being androids. A lot of AI is just AI wants people dead.
Yeah.
Or like robots out for destruction.
Yeah.
And there is so much more to the like hideous, depressive nature of the Necron tier dying out, and the only way to save themselves to make a bargain that makes them into soulless machines. It's more to it.
Yeah, they're sad boys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that we're all in agreement on that one then. That's another point for Team Warhammer.
Woo!
So next up, coming out onto the ring, we have the grey, wizened old figure of Malkador the Sigillite, one of the most powerful psychers in the 40k universe. And he is going to be put up against one of the most powerful psychers from our universe. That's right, it's Chris Angel Mind Freak. All right, so for those of you who don't know at home, Chris Angel is only the world's most talented magician, wearing some of the slickest clothes, cruising around Las Vegas, making Harley Davidsons disappear and then reappear out of some lady's cleavage at a Motley Crue concert. He's the coolest guy around. But is he powerful enough to take on Malkador?
No.
What do you mean?
No. Just a flat no.
Well, this guy would destroy Malkador. What do you think? Malkador can make a fucking, Tommy Lee's Ferrari appear in a chateau in Italy? I don't think so.
I think that this is basically just us coming up with ways. I didn't know who this guy was until Stoney showed us him just now, and I'm already thinking of the multitude of ways that killing him would be better for the world. I think Malkador, as this guy's flicking through his cards to make some kind of fancy trick, would just be making him see hideous picture after hideous picture. And he starts cutting himself up with cards like death by 1,000 paper cuts, screaming stuff about the warp and like how he doesn't want his fringe to be cut off because he still lives in the 1998 and emo's just about to explode.
I think that you're wrong. I reckon that Malkador comes, he tries to start showing in his mind these hideous pictures that you're talking about, but all that happens in Malkador's mind is Frost is over, a sick guitar lick starts to play, and all of it, the face of Chris Angel, the mind freak, appears in his mind, and eventually Chris Angel appears in Malkador's body, Malkador looks down, realizes he's ripped as shit, got a cool ass six pack, and before he knows it, Malkador is Chris Angel, mind freak.
I just no. I can't allow it. Cannot allow it. Matt, where do you stand on this? The debate.
No, I agree. I mean, I think Malkador has used his psychic powers to give himself a really weak opponent, and just so I think it's all a setup.
You guys are mad.
Malkador used his
You're mad.
Used his psychic powers to win this easy.
I think that it's quite likely that Chris Angel, mind freak, is on his way to becoming Malkador when he lives for another 40,000 years.
I was gonna say, like, what if it's just the same person?
I mean, I still think that if Chris Angel became Malkador, he'd be taking a step down in his psychic abilities. But I'm outnumbered on this one. So next up, coming into the ring, we have Carl Jericho. And he is going to be pitted against John Wick.
Oh.
Who do we think would win in a battle between Carl Jericho and John Wick? Two hired killers, ragamuffins.
John Wick. I'm going John Wick. They're both humans, right? There's no mind altering. I don't know very much about Carl Jericho, but I'm
pretty sure that Carl Jericho is just human. He doesn't have anything fancy about him. I'm pretty sure. Stop me if Matt, do you know?
No.
All right.
I think he's just a kind of underhive gunslinger, isn't he?
I'm pretty sure that's him, yeah.
Yeah.
Him and his little buddy Scabs.
Yeah. Is Scabs involved in the fight? Is he cheering him on from the side?
Yeah, he could cheer him on from the side, I guess. I think he's got a porn addiction in the books, doesn't he? So he's probably just sitting there getting greasy in the corner.
It does. I think an important question for John Wick is: does Carl Jericho have anything to do with the death of one of John Wick's loved ones or pets?
That is true. Okay, what about this is the setup? Carl Jericho killed John Wick's dog, and John Wick killed Scabs.
Oh, okay. So there's some serious aggression.
There's
on both
bad
sides.
blood on both sides.
Oh man. Normally when we do these things, we say it matters what the setting is, right? But I've seen John Wick kill someone with a library book in a library. I don't think John Wick gives a goddamn about what the setting is. He's going to use whatever's to hand to dispatch Carl Jericho whilst he's trying to fire his last pistol at him.
And then leave a big pile of gold in his wake.
Yeah. That's it. John Wick's going to pick up whatever's around, and it's going to be inside Carl Jericho very quickly. That sounded like a different kind of match, but
we think this one's a John Wick, one for team non other franchises. Okay, so next up, swooping celestially like into the ring, we have Celestine.
Oh,
and she's going to be versus Superman. This is kind of a battle of the ever living people, I guess.
I'm going to put. I mean, my initial thought is Superman Rex, but I also see a potential where she's so divine and shining that Superman falls to his knees, shouting something about his god, which I think was called Ra or something, the gods of Krypton, and he's overcome with joy and emotion, and she looks down upon him as filthy Xenos and beheads him.
I think that I do think that either one of these two could potentially do the other one, kill the other one. So
Superman's gonna do Celestine.
I think that.
There's some artwork on that.
Yeah, we'll Google that later. We'll check that later. But I do think that either of them could kill the other one, even though they are both kind of these big, strong.
Yeah, I think Celestine is a demon, so I reckon that she's gonna get inside Superman's head, and I think your story arc with him bowing before her, well, she is probably what I can imagine happening. She's going to let the light radiate out of her breasts.
Yeah.
That's where light does come from.
Yeah.
I think if they really get into a fight, I mean, the only way I can see Superman losing is some kind of distraction, right? He is going to be faster than her. He's stronger than her. He could breathe ice and shoot lasers out of his eyes.
But he also
both die multiple times.
He likes to fight sort of evil people, though, doesn't he? That's like his whole thing. And like, is Celestine evil enough for him to fight? Whereas I think, you know, like most 40k people will just pretty much fight anybody if they have to.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think mentally something's going to hold Superman back that gives Celestine the chance. But if we were talking like Ultraman or what Superman on one of the kryptonites that makes him go like ragey, then maybe Superman would win if he would overcome his being too much of a nice guy. If he wasn't Boy Scout Superman, I think he would win. But standard Superman is going to fall to his knees in awe.
So we're saying Celestine comes down, a glorious light starts generating from her breasts, and Superman looks at them and says, what the fuck's going on with your breasts? What's all this light coming out of them? And then she takes the opportunity to stick him in the eye with a kryptonite dagger or some shit.
Yeah. Or like she can also call down a bolt of the Holy Emperor's like lightning. That'd probably finish Superman off.
Next up, coming into the ring, another fan favourite. We've got Eisenhorn versus
Eisenhorn wins
versus Judge Dredd. This is the battle of the Dan Abnett creations.
Yeah. I reckon Dan wins.
Yeah, Dan's laughing all the way to the bank on this one.
I've got
to be honest. At my heartstrings. I'll find this one really difficult because Judge Dredd is my boy. Like, I'm always going to choose Judge Dredd. I love him. So, you know, I would choose him over Eisenhorn in this, but I definitely see that I could be in the wrong on this.
Judge Dredd is just a soldier. He's just a soldier. He's a very good soldier.
He's judge, jury, and executioner. He's got himself out of a million different predicaments. Plus, he's been played by Sylvester Stallone.
I was just going to say Sylvester Stallone. Who's playing Eisenhorn?
Well, there's been a new Judge Dredd, hasn't there, since the Stallone one?
Yeah.
But I mean, Stallone is the iconic.
That is a great film.
That's when it got really silly. Yeah.
The recent Dredd is really good. Anyway, really good. I'm still standing by. Even in the Judge Dredd universe, there's the drug, right? Is it called slow-mo?
Yeah, there's a couple of drugs, but slow-mo's the one that's used as the guffin in the film to do slow motion blow-up effects. Yeah.
There's nothing like psychic or demonic or anything in the Judge Dredd universe, is there?
There is.
Is there?
There's Judge Death, who's like a goat, from a parallel universe, and it's him and the evil judges that are like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And Judge Dredd tangles with them quite a number of times.
So he's not going to be too freaked out if Eisenhorn just unleashes Cherubale and the demon host pops up. That's...
He will arrest and judge that demon like he does everything else.
Oh, okay. Well, I think 1-to-1, probably, psychic powers aside, I've got to agree with you. I think the judge wins. Eisenhorn needs a retinue. He worked with a team. He never does anything by himself. He's a great swordsman. I think maybe in close combat, Barbara Sater, Eisenhorn's like super sword would destroy the Judge Dredd. But I think Judge Dredd's too clever to get that close to him.
Yeah. Oh man, I did not think this was going to go this way. I'm glad. That's 2 for Dredd. What do you reckon, Matt?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think if it's Stallone, then I'll give it to him.
So next up, coming out into the ring, we have Shadow Son of the Tau Empire versus Captain Planet. With our powers combined, we create Captain Planet and also Shadow Son. Also Shadow Son.
Does she have the drones?
She has 1 marker light.
Cool. Oh man, I mean, she's got a lot of firepower.
She's got stealth. She can fly.
Yeah.
That is true. But Captain Planet has control of the elements, I believe, to a certain extent.
And he's also got a mullet.
He's got a pretty fucking cool mullet, yeah. Flat top and a mullet. It's like, whew.
I don't know much about Captain Planet.
obviously he's here to save, to bring pollution down to zero is his main goal. So you know, I don't know. I mean, if Shadow Sun's, it looks like her suit's probably kicking out a bit of exhaust. I don't think that Captain Planet would be too pleased about that.
See, I'm glad you've told me about this environmental thing, because I think the exact opposite. I think what might happen here, as much as I dislike the Tau, is that Shadow Sun could potentially convince Captain Planet of the greater good. Look at all our carbon neutral technology. It might look like I'm in a steam powered suit.
Mate,
not.
Captain Planet is the exact type of mug to be recruited by the Tau. I could see it.
I think so. He's going to be an auxiliary in no time.
Oh shit! He's just going to. All right, so he's just going to be assimilated into the Tau Empire.
Straight into the Tau Empire.
So that brings us to the last matchup of the evening, the one that everyone's been dying to see, the main card, the main event. In Rumbles, an Invader ATV versus E-Honda from Street Fighter in the bonus car smashing stage. And everyone knows that E-Honda was best at the car smashing because he had the 100-hand slap, which could devastate a vehicle.
I was not expecting you to say E-Honda after you said Invader ATV.
Yeah.
Okay,
Franchise wars, baby.
I think... Can you imagine E-Honda trying to even get into an Invader ATV? To like watching a really tall person get in a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
It's very close to the ground. There was like a Street Fighter kart racing game at one stage, years ago. Yeah. So there is somewhere some 16-bit animations of E-Honda jumping around in a little go-kart.
I think, aside from E-Honda being badass, E-Honda is going to immediately break the ATV's suspension.
Yeah.
Even if they teamed up and became friends like Brom or something.
I literally think if the Invader ATV drove at E-Honda full speed, the Invader ATV would still break against his mighty gut.
Yeah, I think so. He would just lift his gut up and just drop it on top of it. E-Honda wins.
Right, E-Honda for the win.
Dear Lord, sports fans, are you bearing witness to the same hellacious display that I'm seeing here today? We'll pick this up later with a bit more of Last Blast Podcast Wrestling League Franchise Edition.
Okay, welcome back to the show, everybody, to this section that we call the Model Spotlight, where we shine a spotlight onto a model that's come out recently or is going to be coming out soon. And we have got a fucking beast of a model here today. This is very much stays in the cabinet, very much scared to move this fucker around. This is Lord Krog of the Slan. So we're talking, this is a lizard man guy, one of the big frog dudes, and he's sitting on some kind of fucking moving Tesla throne, sort of gyroscope type thing. And he's chilling on there with all the classic kind of Aztec-y symbology and stuff all around it. This is crazy, right?
Yeah. I saw it.
Crazy good.
It's crazy good. I love it, but this is a mad model. Again, this is more like kind of like Void Dragon-esque, as in we've sort of talked about. Like there's so much going on, and just the idea of this model kind of 10 years ago would have just absolutely fractured your mind.
Can you imagine you were saying earlier about gluing lead? Can you imagine trying to glue these pieces together if they were made of metal?
Oh, fuck that. I'll just draw a picture of it and put it on the battlefield if that was the case. I mean, fucking hell.
Cardboard cutout.
So I don't know much about old Lord Croak of the Slan, other than he's got a great pun-based name. But they're kind of like aliens, aren't they? In the world of Sigmar and the old world.
They are. They're aliens. They're rumored to be the 40k old ones as well, aren't they? There's the whole link with that system. But this guy he had an old model. He's the one that was mummified. The really old metal model. He was basically a mummified frog. So people are saying, like, it's quite interesting that obviously he's coming back out in Age of Sigmar, but he's kind of healed because he's not a mummy anymore.
Back.
Yeah,
he's still quite wrapped up quite tight, but I see what you mean. He's kind of there's a bit more life to him.
Yeah, they live. I think they are meant to be like immortal beings, and they appeared from space on the Warhammer world, and they led the lizard men. It's something to do with psychic powers and something. The model's wicked. It's got no clear plastic flight stand on it, but it's floating, and you can imagine those rocks kind of like spinning, like
gyroscope is the word. It's exactly what I thought.
I mean, it's like, even though, we've talked about structural integrity in the past and the dangers of having a model pivoted on this one tiny little bit, but this looks like it's got a fair few points of contact, to be fair. Like, I mean, it may not be quite as whippy as some of the other ones we've seen, but I definitely got what you were saying, Matt, from this model, like a kind of a space frog type jobby, because it's more like a lot of the old, the lizard man stuff. It's just sort of, it looks like Aztec stuff, basically. Whereas this one, it's definitely got the Aztec stuff to it, but I'm getting a bit of that out space otherworldliness as well, which is cool.
That's what I really love about that range and that kind of ancient concept. I'm sure I've talked about ancient aliens on here before, but I love all that stuff, like these ancient pyramid builders, and they knew so much about the stars and space. Like, did an alien come down and talk to them? It's all rubbish, but I love that that's kind of tongue-in-cheek represented by this race, and especially this model.
Well, I mean, this is going to be a good way of selling too expensive models to kit bashers as well, because so many people are going to be like, oh, I want that gyroscope for my like floating Star Catan or something, you know, and then that this is probably going to be what, like 120 quid, something like that. Get that and the Star Catan or whatever, and 300 quid deep to Games Workshop, and all you've done is build one model.
Win. Games Workshop wins. Do you want to introduce the scoring system?
So we're going to start introducing something on Model Spotlight, where we're going to start giving some of these models scores, so that we can look back through over and see which ones we like the best over the year. So this Slam model, what are the scoring categories we have, Welshie?
So we'll do it out of 7, and the categories that we're going to look at from now on are how dynamic it is, so the dynamism of the model, how kind of clever the structure is, and whether we think it will fall apart or not. How cool it is just as kind of first look, how much does it stand out? And then also think a little bit about the paintability. We have to build these and then actually paint them ourselves. Do we think that would be easy? Do you think the model lends itself to painting? Or do you think it would just be too much of a hassle to get the colours on?
Okay, well, let's kick things off then with dynamism. How dynamic do we feel this frogman is?
I think it's a model of 2 parts myself, but you go first.
That's pretty much what I was going to say as well. There's like the frogman himself, who's pretty static, just sat there being a big fat frog, and then the dynamism comes from his sort of base and everything. So I actually think the dynamism is pretty high on this. We all got the gyroscope thing. We all kind of understood the movement that was happening in the model when we saw it. So I'm going to have to score this pretty high. What did we say it was out of? 7?
7 for each one, because it gives you a decent range. It's a maths thing.
All right, okay. All right, well, I'm going to give this a 6 then for dynamism.
Okay. I think I could go with 6 with this. Like you say, I can just imagine the thing rolling down a board. Yeah, you can imagine it hovering. It's a kind of weird, 'cause it's not dynamic in a tack pose. You can just imagine it moving, but kind of hovering. And
I think... I'll agree. I think it is dynamic. I think maybe 6, maybe slightly high, but I'll go with 6 because he isn't jumping in the air and he isn't standing on a book. So for that, I appreciate that.
There's not a book in sight on this model. All right, so next up is structural integrity, and this isn't as solid as your classic lead Carnifex we were talking about at the start of the show. This is more I don't know, maybe more of a 3 or a 2 for me, because I reckon you could smash this sucker if you dropped it.
Yeah, I think it's very, very clever, but that feeds into the other categories, but it is very difficult to transport. So I'm happy down that end. Matt?
I'd say 3.
Okay.
It's not the worst, but if it does break, God, you're going to have a real pain.
You're not putting it back together. You'll
have to start pinning it if you're going to,
Okay, so just overall cool factor then?
Oh, it's got to be pretty high for me.
I reckon 5.
I was going to say 6.
I'm going to go 5, so we'll go 5.
5, yeah.
And then how much do we want to paint it?
Ooh.
I do not want to paint this model. It's more. Some of the bits look quite fun to paint, but honestly, it looks like a bit of a chore with all these vines and stuff. I could see myself, just forgetting to do bits of it, and wouldn't be a fan of painting this.
I'm the same. It was a 3 or a 4 from me.
I'd say less.
Even less
for me.
Okay.
Oh well, let's go 3.
Okay. So first ever score then, 17 for the Lord Cloak.
The 70s.
The 80s. The 90s.
Oh, we're going back in time. Is that a space squat? It's time we take you back with a blast from the past.
All right, so hello everybody, and welcome to this part of the show, which is the Blast from the Past, where we take a look at a model from days gone. And I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about this crazy orc model, which is the old shock attack gun model. So if you guys have seen the new orc model of this is a guy with a kind of weird bazooka gun type thing that's got 3 balls on it that seem to be spinning around, give the impression that they're spinning around. And I wanted to talk about this in regards to the old model, because this old model was similar to the Carnifex we talked about earlier, made of lead, a complete pain in the arse to put together. This thing came in a blister pack that was heavy as a fucking handgun, it was crazy, but it came with 2 bases of snotlings. Which the design of the gun was supposed to be that this thing fired the snotlings through a kind of a warp gate, and you could put them somewhere. You'd scatter them, but there would be a thing of snotlings would appear somewhere. And this gun was, if you got direct hits against vehicles, it just completely destroyed the vehicle, because it transported the snotlings inside the vehicle and killed all the crew. So it rendered it completely inactive. So it was one of those amazing models where if you got it right, classic orc model, if everything went to plan, then it was great.
Yeah.
And if there were so many variables that could get fucked up along the way. So I just wanted to show this model to everybody because it's fucking weird. It's a weird model. It's an orc with a gun that's about twice the size of him.
Is his tongue sticking out?
Probably is, yeah.
Yeah, yes, cool.
Yeah. So it's just a very...
I didn't realise they had an old model for that, because it looks like something that they invented recently, I didn't realise it had that kind of legacy behind it.
Yeah. No, it's a very strange model that did some amazing things on the battlefield. And I was just reminded of it because I found it inside the box of bits that I had. I've got it came, obviously you've got this weird thing where they're mixing up the bases back in the olden times. So you get big square bases of things like snotlings and nurglings and stuff like that. So you've got these square, I think it came with 2 bases worth of snotlings. So if you can imagine, all of this is just rammed into a fucking blister pack as well. So you've got this orc, the fucking gun that's massive, the spinny bit, and then just a fucking shitload of little snotlings in there. It was like they were packaging peanuts for the rest of the pack, so this thing was just bulging at the seams, like the heaviest piece of Warhammer I ever owned. But it was it's a great model, and I used to love it at the time.
So you've got one?
I've got this model.
Have you got the squats with it?
I've got the snotlings as well. Yeah.
The snotlings, yeah.
Yeah.
And have you got it in the blister, or have you got it?
Oh no. It's been out of the blister for many.
It's been well loved.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure if I've got all of it. I couldn't seem to on first examination. I didn't find this end of the gun, the spinny end.
Oh no.
But yeah, I mean, the rest of it is all there, and it's a crazy weird model, a crazy blast from the past.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's cool that it's got that new update as well. I just checked the rules while you were talking about it because it's got that crazy thing, and it still does have that in the rules. So strength of the weapon is 2d6, so it could be strength 2, it could be strength 12, and you roll every time you shoot it. So it's still got that real can destroy a Land Raider or can fail to kill the standard Imperial Guardsman. So yeah,
how irritating, but
super
but that's
orky,
playing
though.
orcs.
Tell me, people, are you ready to rumble? Because like a tectonic plate about to do an earthquake, I was born ready to rumble. So let's get back now to the last part of the Large Blast Podcast Wrestling Edition, Franchise Edition.
So that's right, sports fans. We're back to round things off on this week's Wrestling Edition. So what we're going to do is a bit of a winner's pit, if you like, where we're going to throw all the winners from the previous rounds into a big giant pit and see if we can work out who's the hardest out of the 40k guys and the non-franchise guys that made it. So, from the 40k side, we have Mephiston, an Imperial Knight, Commissar Yarrick, Trazin the Internet, Malkador, Celestine, Shadow Sun. So that's who we've got representing 40k. And from the non-franchise winners, we have Alien, Doom Guy, John Wick, Judge Dredd, and E Honda. So
this is a great picture in my mind.
I mean, if I know anything about people who I personally have lost to many times, and I'm going to say E Honda wins by just being real cheap and inching very close towards you very slowly whilst doing his 100-hand slap.
Maybe. I think we could go down the list and there's some immediate outs, right? I think John Wick is out of his league. Out of his
depth, do you reckon?
Yeah.
You see, I think that I'm also going to say I reckon the Imperial Knight is out for the same reasons as the Invader ATV. It just can't withstand the 100-hand slap. The vehicle damage is too much.
Okay, so E Honda's going straight to the biggest thing.
He slaps it from its shins, and it just slowly sinks into the ground as it gets, slapped to pieces from the shins up.
Okay, well, while that's going on, are there any natural foes that we think are going to race straight to each other for a fight in this pit?
I think that Commissar Yarrick obviously is going to hate the alien.
Yeah, he's going to hate the alien, but I think he's going to hate Shadow Sun more as Xenos that he knows.
Oh, that is true.
I think
he couldn't have Shadow Sun on his side.
Crunch Shadow Sun.
Okay. All right, so Shadow Sun's down. We'll take her out. Shadow Sun is out. Yeah. Imperial Knight is out.
And I think if anyone's going to be particularly interested in the alien, it's going to be Trazin. I think Trazin wants that alien in his collection.
Yeah,
but that's exactly what that's how so many alien films start. Is where that whatever who from the very beginning actually wanted to keep them, to militarize them or something. So I don't think that the aliens can. I think even if he does try to keep it, there's going to be one day where he's showing someone around his big vault and he's like, and here, of course, is my alien. He'll turn the light on and the alien isn't there. And he's like, what? And then, turns around, boom, tongue mouth.
Perhaps that's what Prometheus is, that the alien prequel film. It's Trazin started that whole malarkey off. So I reckon Trazin puts the alien in his pocket and teleports away. He's done. He's got something for his collection.
I think the alien wins eventually that fight, though.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll say Trazin, the Internet, and the alien have disappeared from the battlefield to pursue their own interests, whatever that may be.
Okay. So we've got Celestine, Malkador, Doom, E Honda, Mephiston, and Yarrick left. Doom Guy is going to be blasting, jumping around all over the place.
Yeah,
taking pot shots at these people.
Yeah, I think Doom Guy could definitely take out a couple of people on the. I think if we're doing an all v all, then I think Doom Guy could do John Wick, probably Yarrick, as well. Yeah,
I think eventually Doom Guy is going to run out of steam, though. I think Malkador is probably going to finish off Doom Guy with some kind of side bolt.
Yeah.
He exploded, microwave Doom Guy's brain.
Okay.
God.
So we think Doom Guy is eventually going to get got by Malkador, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I think Mephiston and Celestine are in a corner somewhere, snuggling up while all this is going on. I think he's finally found someone worthy of his golden locks. Which leaves E Honda versus Malkador.
And Judge Dredd. I'm kind of down on this. I still feel like E Honda takes home the victory for all of it. I think he just slaps the shit out of everybody, just inching gently close, like the smouldering wreckage of the Titan is in the background. Malkador's, wrestling with Judge Dredd, and they both just get slapped to shit as Honda tiptoes his way towards them with his hand spinning like a fucking whirling dervish.
Maybe it is then. That's a wild card. Honda for the win, franchise champion.
So there we go. It turns out that out of all of the Warhammer universe, it cannot stand up to the power of the 100-hand slap administered cheaply in a Street Fighter 2 battle. Okay, then. So I'm just about to put these numbers into the old Large Blast podcast computer here and tally them, see what the final results are. Okay, and they're coming back now. And it's 7-5 to Games Workshop. Warhammer.
Who'd have thought it?
Yeah.
Winning the franchise wars there. But some good matchups, some good
Where's
fights.
the Mr. Men?
Well, Mr. Tickle versus one of those assassins that can change shape into anything. Like guys.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looked like Warhammer 40,000 came out on top after all. I think deep down we all knew it would. Join us next time for another edition of the Large Blast Podcast Wrestling Edition. See you later.
All right, welcome back to this exciting part of the show we like to call the Random Topic Generator, where we pluck a question from fate itself, from thin air, using a dice. Welshie, have you got the company dice?
Of course I do. Here we go.
All right, we'll roll that company dice.
It's a 2. If you could drive any Imperial vehicle, what would it be?
Ooh.
I know what I'm going with.
It's got to be a knight. It's got to be a knight for me. Just have a go in one of those big fuckers, like just cruise down the shops and do the fucking knight.
Yeah.
I'm taking I'm taking the helm of a Emperor class battleship, and I'm punching. I'm going super Imperial vehicle. Yeah, one of the big
you've got way bigger than I was thinking.
Yeah, 10 kilometers of plas steel and.
How are you going to park it?
I'm not. I'll punch it. Just go into the warp. Poof. That'd be great.
Just you cruising around the warp in your fucking massive spaceship.
Put a broadside into the moon. Blow up the moon.
I'm going Imperial Knight. I'm going to take it to basketball games and play basketball. What about you, Welshie? What are you thinking?
Oh, God. Well, Matt's really kind of blown how the concept was formed in my head out of the water with what he's done there.
Blown it up on my broadside.
That's right, yeah. You know what? I don't need much. I'm not a fancy guy. I'd really like to just drive a standard land speeder.
Oh, that'd be quite fun.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'd like to go real fast. I'd like to kind of pretend I was in just like James Bond film where they go over the swamps.
Oh, on the hovercraft.
The big hovercraft with the big
pontoon boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the kind of epic
alligators
skimming across the land.
Yeah. All right, that would be pretty sick. It'd be quite fun to take that bad boy out on the ocean. Just fucking, nice flat bit of shit just to cruise around. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, cool. So I think we've got it. A knight, a land raider, and a fucking planet-sized spaceship for us, please.
Yeah.
All right, grand. Cool. So welcome back, everybody, to this, the final part of the show we like to call the Lords of Lore, a part of the show where I do a quiz and pit Matt and Welshie against each other to find out once and for all who is the Lord of Lore. And this week we're going to do something a little bit different. I don't know if either of you guys have ever heard of the website called Quota, which is a website a bit like Ask Jeeves used to be, or like Yahoo Questions, one of those kind of things where, people come on and they ask questions and people give them, an answer. The best they can, I think, is the way to put how the answers come through. So I'm going to ask you a couple of the questions that have been asked on the site, and I want you to see if you can guess what the most upvoted answer is going to be.
Okay.
Okay, you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So one of the questions asked was, what colour is Tau blood? What was the most upvoted answer? What do people out there think Tau blood is? Blue.
Yeah,
You
blue.
think? Okay. Well,
Blue.
the second most upvoted answer is dark shades of blue, but most upvoted answer is thick purple blood.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, like I say, these
that's
aren't
correct, I
necessarily.
believe.
These are just what people have answered, what people believe. So sometimes it might not be true, but this is what people think. So thick purple blood was the answer. No points for either of you there, I'm afraid. So one of the questions is, how long is a rotation on Mars? So they're asking how long a day is, basically, on the planet Mars in 40K. How long what do you think the most upvoted answer would have been?
I think that the most upvoted answer will be a day.
A day, 24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Welshie?
I should actually know this, having been a science teacher once upon a time. I'm going to go with the upvote. The answer is going to be something like longer than a day on Earth or shorter than a day of Earth. Some kind of Earth comparison time. Do I have to pick one of those two?
Yeah, I'm gonna need at least a number.
Okay.
Something to gauge on.
18 hours.
18 hours. Okay. Well, I'm going to give this 1 point to Matt here because it's actually 24 and a half hours. It's the most upvoted answer for that one.
I can confirm that it is 24 hours and 39 minutes is the real day length of Mars.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah.
That's real. Right.
I mean, I knew that. That's why I said 24 hours.
Okay, so someone has asked, what are the lucky colours that orcs believe are magical? So there's a couple of colours. If you guys can get some of them, then
red.
I'll give you points. So red, okay.
Red and yellow.
The question was magical, was it?
Have magical effects. What colours do orcs believe have magical effects?
Okay, well, red, yellow, purple, and blue, I believe, all have effects. But this is the most up answer. So I'm going to just go red and yellow because I think that's most common.
Okay. What about you, Matt?
Oh, well, I'd said that.
You said red and
before.
yellow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I thought that red would be the top one as well, but actually red hasn't made a look in. The top one is green, blue, black, white, purple, and yellow.
But red makes things go faster.
I know.
Yeah.
It's literally like a whole thing. But this is the most upvoted answer. It has 17 upvotes, which is a lot for these, and it doesn't mention red once. It says green because it's lucky, green because it's orcs and orcs like green, blue because it's lucky, black is dead hard, white is deadly, and purple is sneaky, and yellow is flashy.
Yeah.
So that's 1 point to you, Matt, and 2 points to you, Welshie, because you got purple, blue. You got purple and blue and yellow. Oh, you got 3 points actually in yellow. This is a question that simply asks, are exterminatus weapons ever used against spaceships? In a nutshell, they want to know if you ever can shoot a planetary destroying laser at a spaceship. What do you think the most upvoted answer is?
Yes.
I will go no then.
No. Okay, I'm going to give this point to Welshie. The most upvoted answer is that they are widely inefficient against spaceships, as they rely
because they take
rely
a time.
on rocks and minerals to be kind of a part of the thing that is destroyed or something like that. This guy's talking about.
Yeah, it's because a lot of them have to bore through the crust. They're to do with like heating up a mantle and exploding the planet. I think
this guy has gone into like a really in-depth. He's talking science words and everything. You wouldn't fire
a virus bomb at a ship, would you?
No. Well, no.
So widely ineffective is the answer we were looking for on that one. The last question then. Which of the Chaos Gods elevated Lorgar to demonhood?
I think it's not gonna be Khorne. So maybe it's Tzeentch. It's not gonna be Nurgle. So I think, and I don't think it'll be Slaanesh. So I'll go Tzeentch.
You're gonna go Tzeentch.
Yeah, because he's kind of plans and plots and knowledge.
This is what people think, though, isn't it?
Yeah. But I've just made that up. I think people would think on a similar line.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll go with. God, I can't see Lorgar falling for any of them, to be honest. But I've got to actually agree with Matt. I'm sorry that makes the answer boring, but Zeke.
All right. Well, I'm afraid I can't give either of you a point for this because apparently the top answer is he's Chaos Undivided.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Well, I
Basically,
knew that
he
was.
didn't-
I knew that was the real answer, but I thought people
Yeah.
wouldn't go for it.
I know, right? But this was a top voted answer with 14 votes. So no points there, which means that Welshie is the winner of this week's Lords of Lore and is better
Yes.
at working out what the general public answer when it comes to Warhammer questions.
I'm in touch.
Anyway, so thanks everybody for joining us. This has been the Large Blast podcast. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.